Okay, so I've already drawn out my design on my paper, really just to save time, because you know my videos are like 9 hours long. So I'm trying to keep this one a little bit shorter for once. So I drew it out, but I'm gonna line it on camera so you'll really get to see kind of how I draw things out. And you can always drop a question in the comment section if you don't understand how I did something or have any recommendations, whatever it may be. I always check the comments. So I'm going to be using my Moltov liners. I have a 0.5 and then a 1.0. So the 0.5 is what I'm going to start with, but I've talked before about different line weights, so I'll make different things. Maybe the books I'll make a little thicker, and all the little additions I'll make with the fine liner. Anyway, and then I also plan to use a little bit of watercolor. I'm using my Jane Davenport Bright palette. It's a mess, but that's okay. And then I do have this palette that already has some paints in it, so I may end up activating some of those, but we'll see how I feel. And then the only time I used a ruler was just in kind of creating the shelf so that it was a straight line. Besides that, it's all freehand, super loose, ink and wash style. All right, so I'm just going to dive right in, start lining everything. I'm not going to be using a ruler now. I just did it just to kind of get the placement, so I'll zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Another thing I did want to mention, I just chose things to put on the shelf based on some of the things I actually have of my own. So I love plants, so I put the plants. I literally have a letter E on one of my bookcases. I have a little candle holder that looks like this, and I just decided to put it like in a terrarium. And then I just added some other little details. This right here is going to be a little plaque, or it's like a little chalkboard or something that will say Book Tracker 2025. So just choose, you know, little odds and ends and things that make you happy. It needs to just be super simple. Don't stress out about it. Easier said than done sometimes, I know. So I'm just gonna go along and trace my lines. I would love to know if you have any book recommendations. I read pretty much every day, especially before I go to bed. I will read at night on my Kindle, and then if I'm reading another book at the same time, it'll be like the actual book, like a hardback or something. And then I also listen to audiobooks, which I really enjoy. Some people don't like that idea, but I'm busy, so it's nice to be able to at least still get to hear the book. I love like fantasy fiction, but I also love biographies. I like period pieces. I've read a lot of stuff about World War II, but I would love some recommendations. So for the plant, especially this one, I drew some leaves in the foreground, but you can kind of still see the little lines that I could have erased. So you just want to remember, if there's something in front of, you wouldn't draw the line all the way through from the thing that's behind. So I'll show you. So like this leaf is in front of, and then this one is behind. So I will not fill that all the way down here because I want this one to look like it's in front. Hopefully that makes sense.
I'll take you anyway. Just tell me I'll be there. We don't need a plan. I like it unprepared. Whatever comes our way, we'll stay there for the day.
And this one's supposed to look like it's kind of folded over. And you wouldn't see all the strings because the plant's in front of it. And then I'm going to go back to the fatter marker. Now there's lots of ways you can draw the books. If you don't like it to be straight across, you can kind of do like a little dip, and you can do a little bit of both. You can decorate the books if you want to. I'm gonna paint them in as a color, but I'm not going to actually decorate the spines, just simply because I want to make sure I have room for the writing of the actual book. And where the perspective is just that you're looking at it head on, so you wouldn't see the thickness of anything, like from the side or anything like that. It's just literally super simple and straightforward, just looking straight on. So you don't have to worry about seeing the side of the book or something like that. Some of my lines are gonna get a little wonky. That's okay. And as you're outlining, if you want to adjust any lines, you can do that as well, because we will erase the pencil lines. You want to make sure and test your liner to make sure that it's waterproof. For all the plants, they're kind of loosely based on real life plants, but you can do jaggedy leaves, round leaves, like I did just kind of little circles for this one. Again, this is supposed to be super simple. It's not meant to be a perfect plant, if you will. Now you can do that if you want to, but I was just making this super easy and just kind of making it fatter on the outer edge, and then just coming to a point, and you just kind of overlap them. Do you ever set a goal for yourself of like how many books you want to read in a year? I think the most I read in a year one time was like 20 books or something. Now I don't have that kind of time, so unfortunately I can't read that many. My mom is like a really avid reader. She's always reading. I bet she reads 5 billion books a year. She reads a lot. And it's to the point where I'll give her a book to read, and she's like, have I read this before? And I'm like, I don't know. So now I have her kind of initial it just in pencil. That way she can kind of keep track. I told her about Goodreads, but she didn't want to do that. She gets a lot of books from the library, which is nice. I own 9 billion books. I have gotten library books, but I don't like to feel rushed if I'm busy or something and then have to hurry up and get the book back. And I didn't outline the pot yet because I wanted to make sure where I was going to put the leaves. I did not double check that all the widths of the shells were the same. I didn't like get super fussy about it, which is surprising, I know, if you've been here before. Just keeping like super easy shapes. Like this one, I think I'm gonna shift it over a little bit and then maybe make it a little bit bigger as well. So you can see that I'm kind of, altering what I just drew with the pencil with the pen. Just kind of tweaking, kind of changing it a little bit. This is hot pressed watercolor paper. I forgot to mention that. It's my favorite brand. It's Arches. So it's smooth, so it won't hurt it when I erase it. If you use cold press, it has a texture to it, so you can kind of mess up the texture if you erase too hard on that. I don't even know how many books I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 22. That may be overkill. But you could also use them to write little messages to yourself or something. If there are still spots left at the end of the year. Ultimately, I would like to read a book a month, but that can be easier said than done.
I'll take you anywhere. Just tell me I'll be there. We don't need a plan. I like it unprepared. Whatever comes our way, we'll stay the fuck again. So dream.
All right, so got that done. So now I'm going to erase any pencil lines. I will do that off camera and be right back.